So I'm here, made it. First official episode of Gettin Grizzly Wit It, presented by HoopSpaces, which you can find on Twitter every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until. First off, shout out to Chris, JP, for this amazing opportunity. Sports journalism has been something that's been like on my plate since I was young, so really cool to be in a position to have an opportunity to do such a thing, and especially do it for a team that I am so passionate about and that I love so much. It's literally the perfect match. Follow me on Twitter at HAKYM_AQUA. One more time, a little bit slower. HAKYM_AQUA. It's my name backwards and aqua. Simple as that. Also, shout out to myself for the sick Devontae Swing hoodie. If you don't know who Devontae Swing is, educate yourself, please. But on a serious note, what we came to talk about today, Memphis Grizzlies basketball. So before I get into this whole trade deadline thing, I'm going to address a few points with the team right now, good and bad. Obviously, an 11-game winning streak, very, very nice. Could have extended it to 12 games in Los Angeles, but really just boils down to very poor end-of-game management, which has been a glaring issue for us, obviously. Per DeMichael Cole, I posted a tweet like somewhere up here. I think Taylor Jenkins has said the team hasn't fully practiced in about 2 or 3 weeks, which I'm not sure how to really interpret that. I don't know if he means like full practice focusing on end of game situations. We need a little bit more information on that. But not to focus on that elephant in the room, we've lost 5 out of 6 straight games. The only game we did win, we were down by 19 to Indiana. We did come back and win, but we're either starting off games really, really good and ending really, really bad, or we're starting off games really, really bad and ending really, really good, which isn't great, obviously. With all that being said, we are still second in the West. We have a 3-game lead, I think, on Sacramento. Bro, Sacramento is the 3rd seed. I know this is about the Grizzlies, but I have to give the Kings their credit, man. Shout out to Myke Brown. Definitely had my doubts like a lot of other people did, but Sacramento looks good. A lot of things to consider, losing 5 out of 6 straight games. Desmond Bane was out, had some knee pain. He's fine. He's back in the rotation. Looked pretty good last night for the most part. Danny Green's getting integrated back into the rotation. Shout out Danny Green, back for the first time since the playoffs last year after tearing up basically his entire knee. Steven Adams has been out since the Phoenix game, which tremendously hurts this team. If you watch Grizzlies basketball to any degree, you know how valuable Steven Adams is to this team. Insane rebounding numbers this year. Huge part of our offense comes from Steven Adams pick and rolls. Ja Morant obviously either cuts the rim, gets the contact, makes a shot, or kicks it back out. You also think about the second chance opportunities we get with Steven Adams down low. Like, it hurts the team. It does. It hurts the team a lot. Steven Adams, I think, is gone for like 2 or 3 more weeks, if I'm not mistaken. It's gonna be really interesting to see how we perform. Luckily, All-Star weekend's coming up, All-Star break, so have a little bit of time with no games. Another thing for the team right now is just trying to figure out rotations. People coming back, young guys, Zaire, trade rumors. There's just a lot circulating, so it's definitely kind of interesting to see what direction this team takes post All-Star break. So y'all knew trade machine was coming, obviously. One of the main reasons I dreaded making this video is because I knew for a fact I was gonna have to talk about the OG Anunoby trade. Do I want OG Anunoby in Memphis? Sure. Does he make us a better team? Of course. But for the cost of Dylan, Zaire, and 2 first-round picks, no. Like, bro, I got it pulled up right here. It's not worth it to me. If you can find a way to bring OG Anunoby to Memphis, and you can run a death lineup in the playoffs of Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Dillon Brooks, OG Anunoby, and Jaren Jackson Jr., of course. Like, you know how hard it is to score on that team, and then you get the offensive production? Like, it'll be great. But just flat out trading Dillon Brooks, Zaire Williams, and 2 first-round picks for OG? Like, OG's not that guy. He's a good player, don't get me wrong, but it's just, my mic was wrong. I don't think it's worth that. I don't think he's worth that many assets. Like, obviously you push this trade. This is the main trade I see on Twitter. I'm at World Grizzlies Twitter right now because I don't think that this trade right here is worth. I've seen so many people post pretty much this exact trade, and they're like, bro, you gotta think. We get OG Anunoby, Zaire ain't doing nothing, Dillon Brooks takes ill-advised shots. It's like, bro, like, you have to look beyond the stat sheets, like, especially people who don't watch every single game. There's more to this than just Dillon Brooks shooting crazy shots and getting back on defense. Like, bro, like, Dillon Brooks is a huge mental leader for this team. Dillon Brooks is the longest tenured player on the team right now. Definitely helps us provide a sense of identity. Like, he's a great player. Like, does he take questionable shots? Sure, he takes questionable shots. Like, it's just part of it. Zaire, we haven't even got a full taste of what Zaire is yet. Like, obviously he had a questionable year at college. Rookie year was okay, and then he's in a sophomore slump. It happens. I'm not comfortable with just giving up Zaire and a Dillon package with 2 other first-round picks for OG Anunoby. Plus, like, his stats are good from defense. Don't get me wrong. He's averaging over 2 steals a game and almost a block. Like, I know for a fact Dillon's defensive stats probably aren't this nice on paper, but there's also aspects to Dillon's defensive game that he has over OG Anunoby. Like, OG Anunoby does not provide the same trash talk, the same mental, the same roughness. Like, Dillon Brooks will literally run up and down the floor for 48 minutes talking crap the entire time. Like, Dillon Brooks is a menace. Like, people hate playing us. People circle the games on the calendar because they're like, they got Ja, they got Dillon. All they want to do is talk. Dillon, I'm finna light him up. Dillon says he can lock up anybody. I'm gonna lock. Dillon is a menace. Like, bro, he fits the culture of this team. I'm not gonna say OG can't. Like, bro, his name's OG. Can you imagine me named OG in Memphis? The Grizzlies having a player named OG? Like, bro, OG, this is like the perfect fit for a player in Memphis. Like, can you imagine looking down the Grizzlies roster and you're like, damn, Memphis got a player named OG? Like, it's the perfect fit. OG in Memphis, bro. Like, it just sounds like it's meant to be. But for Dillon Brooks, Zaire, and 2 firsts, I'm gonna have to pass. Like, if you can give me a better package than that, sure. Like, if you want to add a 3rd team or something, I am completely down. It's just I'm not comfortable giving up Dillon, Zaire, and 2 firsts. No, and then think Dillon gets traded to Toronto, doesn't extend. I know it's his hometown, that's cool, but it's like Dillon leaves, and then what does he do? He leaves Toronto, free agency, signs with another Western Conference team. As a Grizzlies fan, do you really want to play Dillon Brooks? Like, do you want to have to go up against Dillon Brooks? Not fun. He's not a fun player to go against. Like, you go into a matchup, you're like, oh man, they gotta play OG Anunoby. Like, OG Anunoby is gonna clamp you, of course, but Dillon, like, he's a menace. Like, you gotta deal with, like, you have to deal with him. I'm taking poor Dillon shots for Dillon defense any day. I'll die on Dillon Brooks Island. It's cool. There's some other trades I'm thinking about. Like, honestly, while we're on the topic of the Raptors, like, bro, Gary Trent would be a great asset for us off the bench. He only has 2 years left on his contract. Take OG off. My thing is, like, who does Memphis have to give up for Gary Trent Jr.? Like, depends on how much space we have. Like, everybody keeps trying to throw Danny Green into these trade rumors too. Like, bro, Danny Green, 3-time champion. All 3 rings are with 3 different teams. He comes in, he provides. Everybody's like, we need somebody off the bench who can shoot. We need somebody off the bench who can play defense. Guess who can do both? Danny Green. Like, oh, Danny Green played terrible last night. Danny Green first game back. Danny Green. It's like, bro, give this man a chance. It's his first time playing in like a year, bro. Like, it's gonna take some time to get back on your feet. It's just, overall, like, I hate to say it, but like, this team, we need more presence. It's just the way our contracts are set up, man. Like, we have really good players on really cheap contracts, and if you follow this team since, you know, like Jaren, Ja draft picks, you know that, like, we fall in love with our players a lot. Like, it was really hard giving up Mel. It was really hard giving up Kyle, even though Kyle walked. Like, it's really hard to imagine trading anybody. I think I'm a guilty fan when it comes to that sense. Like, we need a trade. A rebuild is way ahead of schedule, which is a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing when it comes to moments like this. You don't really want to give anybody up. Like, you don't. Like, even if you know it's for the better. I messed around with Trade Machine for a minute. Like, bro, it's really hard for us to acquire any valuable asset or an asset that could be valuable to this team without giving up Danny Green and or Dillon Brooks. And I really don't want to give either of them up. Like, Danny Green, when it comes to people talking about trading Danny Green, they're always like, you're going to want to trade Danny Green to a contender. We're here. Like, it's time. Like, we're contending for a championship. So try to cook up a trade without Danny Green or Dillon. It's right here. Like, I know I've said it already in this video, but I don't want to give up on Zaire. Played pretty good his freshman year in the league, rookie year in the league, my bad. Jazz get Valanciunas, kind of offers a little bit of a salary dump of the Pels, even though we compete with them in the division and the conference. So, you know, if they want to make any pushes this offseason, it gives them a little bit of flexibility. Really young, good center and or power forward, and Jared Vanderbilt did a really good job for the Timberwolves last season. I honestly not talking about the Rudy trade. Not going to talk about the Rudy trade. I think Jared Vanderbilt fit the Timberwolves perfect. I think that was their guy. Him and Naz Reid on the floor together, man. Oof. I put Killian Tilly in this trade. I don't think we might still be paying him. He's not with the team. I put him in here for the sake of making this trade work. And Jake, I know Jake's a rookie, but I just think that I'm comfortable with trading Drake. I'll say that. No disrespect to Jake, no disrespect. Jazz acquire Jonas Valanciunas, gives them kind of a solid 2-piece to go with, or 1-piece to go with Walker Kessler. If you want to run Lauri Markkanen at small forward, run those kind of lineups. Don't know if it really is great for the team. Walker Kessler's playing great, and typically you're going to want to run Lauri at 4, space the floor, stretch the floor. But for the sake of this trade, we're just going to go with what I said. John Conchar, I love you, Conch. Love you, Jitty, but trying to get better, then, got to do what you got to do sometimes. You had a little bit more versatility on the wings with Zaire if you want to run a big lineup. Zaire at the 2, Laurie at the 3, Walker Kessler at the 4, and Jonas at the 5. Jonas can also space the floor a little bit if he can get out to the wing. So I don't think that's a really bad trade. They don't really lose anybody that valuable either. Jared Vanderbilt is great. I think Jonas Valanciunas will do a really good job with that team as well. Utah picks up a little bit of salary, but they're not really that worried about it. I think they're kind of in a crossroads between rebuilding and competing, or wanting to compete in the playoffs. I don't think they're a championship level team. I think Jared Vanderbilt is just a perfect fit for the Pelicans. You play him alongside Zion. Doesn't really slow down the pace of the game. Aggressive on defense, can get rebounds, has the height, has a wingspan, fast player. I think it's good. And Jake, I don't know, man. Nobody's seen Jake play enough. I'm not even gonna lie. And then Memphis, man, you add Malik Beasley to the bench. You give up Zaire. I'm very, very comfortable with David Roddy taking up some Zaire minutes if this trade did happen. Obviously, it's just one I made. David Roddy's been playing great. I'm not Taylor Jenkins, nor am I on the Grizzlies coaching staff, so I'm not sure why he's not getting minutes right now. I think they're really testing the waters with Zaire, really trying to see what he can provide to the team. But if Zaire walked or got traded, feeling comfortable with David Roddy minutes off the bench. That gives you Malik Beasley, who can obviously score at will if you leave him open on the 3-point line, especially if you can put him in a lineup with Danny Green at small forward. And then you have Tyus Jones facilitating the ball. If you leave either one of those players open on a wing, it's not a good sight, especially when you enter the playoffs. I like this trade. Obviously, there's probably a few issues with this trade, but overall, like I said, man, it kills me to think about trading anybody on this team. Besides the OG trade, I don't know. We're really going to have to see. I really love this team, and I really wish we would have kind of let last year's team experiment a little bit more before we just kind of jumped in the water. So honestly, this is kind of a weird first video to do, starting especially like in the middle of the season or like towards All-Star break, NBA trade deadline. Nicer to start this video when we were still super hot. We're in a slump right now, and it's also weird, kind of doing a trade deadline video because I'm attached to every single person on this team, especially when you are a resident of Dillon Brooks Island. With that being said, I did just get a notification per the Athletic NBA through Sam Vicini. I'm hoping I pronounced that correctly. He's a senior writer for the Athletic for the NBA draft coverage. But apparently there is a real case for Memphis waiting for a player like OG or OG himself to hit the market. So it's another credible report that Memphis does have OG on their radar. I've seen that Vegas' favorite for OG Anunoby's landing spot is now Memphis if he doesn't stay in Toronto. Memphis is definitely picking up traction. Like I said, OG and Memphis is like, it just sounds like it's meant to be.
But man, if we have to give up Dillon Brooks,
I'm gonna die on Dillon Brooks Island, for real. A permanent resident of Dillon Brooks Island. NBA reserves are released tonight. Well, Thursday, February 2nd. I don't know if this video is gonna get posted tomorrow or whenever, but yeah. Hopefully more to talk about next time. Like I said, it's kind of weird starting in the mix of like trade deadline, Grizzlies coming off a winning streak, going into a losing streak, and just not really knowing what exactly is about to go down with the team. But I'll be back next week. We'll probably know a little bit more. When is the actual NBA trade deadline? It's the 10th, right? A week from today. So the deadline is actually a week from today. Also, I forgot to mention, if there's an opportunity for Memphis to get Cam Reddish for a good price, I'm completely fine with that. So I'm also really curious to see where Cam Reddish ends up. He torched this game, first game of the season. So with all that being said, I appreciate y'all tuning in. I am Myke at Twitter, HAKYMAQUA. And this is Gettin Grizzly Wit It, presented by HoopSpaces. Appreciate y'all. See ya.